for me, I've been voice acting for, as far as for anime, since 1997. And during that time, some stuff that I've done includes Master Roshi from Dragon Ball Z. Yajirobe also from Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. Baby from Dragon Ball GT. Kane on Trinity Blood. Lieutenant Havoc from Full Metal Alchemist. Ranka Fujioka from Oran High School Host Club. Fabulous. Tybalt from Romeo x Juliet. Let's see, I was also Shota in Summer Wars. I play Hyuga in the Rebuild of Evangelion movies. Let's see. Buggy in One Piece.
Oh, yeah.
Goemon on Lupin the Third. A bunch of stuff. Yeah, I'm sure that I'll remember more later, but that's the ones I can think of off the top of my head. Those things and stuffs.
After a while, they kind of blend in.
They do, especially like Master Roshi and Goemon and stuff like that. Because it's like, yes, I played it, but I played it this many times, so it's like a lot of those. Leo and Burst Angel. I was in Kitty Grade. I was in a bunch of stuff. Yeah, things and stuff and things. So with this kind of panel, what works out best is to do Q&A style. So if you guys have any questions, Sammy and I will do our best to answer them for you. Any questions about voice acting, the process, or any of that kind of stuff. And if you have a question, just raise your hand up. That way, if there's two people talking, I can tell what's going on. But otherwise, we'll just all sit here and stare at each other. Yes?
How long did it take you to get the accent right for Estonia?
For Estonia? The Hitalia accents in general, I'm the line producer of Hitalia as well, so I make a lot of the judgment calls on that. The accents in Hitalia, my approach that I gave to Scott, his directive, was I want all the accents to be about as accurate as Peter Sellers' French accent in The Pink Panther. It just needs to be like a very broad, global view of a comedic version of what that accent would sound like. That's more important than it being 100% accurate, is it for it to be funny and broad. Thank you very much. Give it up for the staff from the water. Thank you. As far as me getting it right, we had a website. Actually, it was like 3 different websites that Scott Sager, the ADR director, found, where it was, I want to be this nationality speaking this language, and they had a paragraph where that happened for like almost any combination. So like, okay, I'm from Japan, and I want to, in a Japanese accent, speaking English, say this, or I'm from Portugal and French and this, like any sort of combination. So I listened to that a few times, and then kind of just did geography. Okay, Russia's here, and Germany's there, and this is there, and this is this, and just came up with something that sounded similar to what was on that website. So as far as how long it took me, I listened. I did like 5-10 minutes worth of prep of repeating that paragraph a couple of times. I'm like, okay, I got the gist of it, and now I'll make it broader and try to make it funny. But that was pretty much the initiative of most of the Hitalia accents, except for a few people. Like J. Michael Tatum actually already had a good believable French accent because he can speak the French. So.
Oh, can I say, there's a couple of seats that are empty if any of you guys who are standing in the back of lots of seats. Join us.
They're like, no, we want to stand in the back in case this is lame and we'll just bail.
Yay! Yeah, there's a whole like row right there. Yeah.
And now that we're all settled, next question, because we have a long time, guys. We're going to stay each other a while. Yes, in the back.
Okay, my friend Iridian got grounded from AnimeCon.
Okay.
And her favorite character from Full Metal Alchemist is Havoc.
Awesome.
So, could you ask her out in Havoc's voice?
The room was still settling when you said the name, so I didn't get the name. Iridian?
Yes.
Let's see. Hey, Iridian. I don't know if you've seen me around. I work with Mustang a lot, and things didn't work out with my last relationship so much. She turned out to be a homunculus. So I was hoping maybe you would like to join me for dinner and or a walk in the park later. Yes. Oh, she said yes. It's a miracle. Solaris? All right. More questions, even if they're that yes in the hat.
Did you have fun playing Buggy on One Piece?
I totally have fun playing Buggy on One Piece. That type of character I find to be a lot of fun. In anime, and Sammy can probably attest to this as well, in anime there's not a lot of opportunity for you to be huge and cartoony. You can be kind of big with your character, but most of the characters fit within a certain type. Like, there wouldn't be anyone with this voice, like in Full Metal Alchemist or in Ghost in the Shell or Eden of the East or something. So when something that looks that, for lack of a better word, cartoony comes along, then I know that it's going to be fun. That voice, much like Baby from GT, is a voice that if I do for long periods of time hurts. It's just and screaming and stuff all the time. It's like, oh, God, that hurts. So I can only do it for I guess ideally recording about 2 hours at a time and up to about 4 hours at a time. And then after that,
I just start to talk like this because there's nothing left.
But it's a lot of fun to do that voice. I love incompetent villains that are constantly frustrated and screaming, especially when they're surrounded by a crew that's even more incompetent, and that makes them look like the genius of the dummies.
Yeah, I mean, it's like anytime you get to, I'm short and chubby, it's like how many different parts could I possibly have, in a live action movie or something like that. No, I'm normally the comic relief, if anything, so it's really awesome when you get to go into a sound room and one day be like a superhero or something like that, and then suddenly, the next day you're a tiny little 6-year-old girl, or then you go in and you're a zombie the next day. It's super fun.
Yeah, it's fun to be a 6-year-old girl.
Unbelievable. That's fun, totally.
More questions, right here.
What's the most funny lines that you say in Full Metal Alchemist?
What are the funniest lines that I've said in Full Metal Alchemist? I don't know. I mean, in the first series, there was that, "You're a miracle Mustang, I'll follow you for the rest of my life." But that's so funny just because of what's going on the screen with that whole massaging his leg thing that he's doing. It just looks really silly. And then I think that he had a nice PG-13-ish boobs line in Brotherhood that was pretty funny. He was staring up at this guy. I love him! I can't get enough of him!
Oh, me now? No. I'm not.
Yes, over here.
What's it take to be a voice actor?
What does it take to be a voice actor? Well, it really just depends. But I mean, it takes good vocal skill. It takes being able to take direction. Some versatility is nice, but not necessary. There are some people who get cast just for one specific type of voice that they do, and that's great. Versatility is fun too, because then you can do a lot more different things. But being able to take direction and understand direction and adapt yourself, I think, is good stuff. I also suggest improvisation and having good improvisational skills. It helps you to make quick decisions on the fly. So, if you're going in for an audition and you see something okay, it's this, this, and this, and this is the voice it should have. It just it gives you a little bit of confidence to be able to make that sort of decision. What do you think, Sammy?
I mean, I'm definitely all about all those, but mostly the following directions thing. Because, it's you go into a sound room and it's just you, the director and the engineer, and so it's there's no big audience. It's just those two people, and you sit there and the director says, okay, can you pitch your voice a little bit higher, or can you say that line a little bit more sing-songy, or it's like other weird directions, and if you can't follow their directions and can't get what it is that the director wants, then you're probably not going to get asked to go in.
Yeah, then. Yes, right here.
Whenever you guys do your voice recording, have you ever came across a line that you're like, what in the hell was this writer thinking? Was this something with English that got translated wrong? Was the writer just in left field?
Not often, because there's a couple of checkpoints that it hits before it gets to the booth. So there's like the translator sends a translation off, and then a adaptive scriptwriter gets a hold of it and finishes that script and turns it into what's called the head writer, at least for the structure that I currently work with a lot. The head writer has to watch every series that comes through. Like in Funimation's case, it's John Bergmeyer. John Bergmeyer has to watch every show that's licensed, whether or not he writes it. He has to watch it and he has to be familiar with it. And then he makes assignments for other adaptive writers to do the scripts. They write the scripts and turn them into him. So the adaptive writer has to go, okay, I think this is good. I sign off on it and send it in. And then John will go, okay, well, let me see if it's any good or not. And he'll watch through it like, good. Oh, you missed the point there. Highlight, check, send note. This paragraph is not you're missing the point here. And he sends it back to him. Take another crack at it.
Well, I already maybe not talk about the translation, but more like you said, you got the Hiroshi and Dragon Ball.
You mean just as far as the level of ridiculous?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like this line doesn't make sense.
Well, in terms of it being ridiculous and crazy.
Well, it really just depends on the show. Like if something stands out as like it doesn't fit, like if all of a sudden Master Roshi had an extremely long line full of technobabble, where it looked like it was out of Star Trek or something, I'd be like, this is not in character at all. He wouldn't say that. He'd be like, boobies, or Goku, give me a date, or anything like that. So when anything is strikingly out of character, I call question to that. As far as like any level of ridiculousness where I'm like, I'm not going to say that, or I don't understand it, no, I just try it. Because usually, like by the time everything else is in place around it, I'm like, oh, okay, that's how it makes sense. So, anything weird for you, Sammy?
I always find that when I do like a radio commercial for anything, a lot of times they're written by people who are not, proficient about getting the point across sometimes.
Yeah.
And they'll put in, sentences that really just don't make sense or are obscenely not appropriate for radio.
Yeah.
I did a grocery store commercial, and basically I had to play a blonde, like that, and I had to talk about the price of these melons because they're so juicy and round. And I just was like, that is not right. No, you want me to say this? Oh, okay. But yeah, that's one where I had to question the people in charge and send gift certificates really, fast because those radio gift certificates. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah.